going on, guys? Jurassic here. Today we're playing Lords Mobile. We're going to be doing the Dark Disaster stages 1 through 4. Sorry about the audio not being included. For some reason, the track was off by about 32 seconds for every single one of these stages, so I just opted to get rid of it, so we'll just have some slight background music. So these first couple stages aren't going to be too tough. We have a gnome and a archer on the right side. Basically, they're going to be your single target DPS characters, so we're going to be focusing on those. We use the pink knight to sort of tank majority of the stuff. Same with the Groot, the gigantic tree monster. We got an archer over here in the back. She's basically able to do DPS around everybody. This first stage isn't too bad. See, there's going to be a couple ogres that rush us. Our goal is going to be to either kill those before they push us back too far, or at least get them close enough to the rest of the enemies. That way we're able to hit multiple targets. You'll see whenever we do our far range abilities, there's going to be a yellow cone on the ground. You can't actually attack past that cone. So some of our single DPS characters need to try to focus on the biggest ogre possible. And if you accidentally misclick and target somebody else, that's 100% okay, especially on this first stage. It's not too critical on what you actually do. For the most part, you're going to use your archer and try to just get every single one of the monsters inside the cone and attack them all at once. The tree is able to have miraculous healing abilities and actually is able to tank majority of the damage, so we don't have to worry about him too much in this first phase. And as soon as you get that done, we'll be ready for stage 2. Went ahead and compiled 1 through 4 in this video since you have to use their heroes. The rest are all going to be individual, so that's why we're not really going over the heroes or anything. Now, one thing I will say, there's going to be a frog with a lantern on his head. He's basically going to be a healer slash DPS character. So the goal of him is going to be to place his attack on the ground, sort of covering half of your troops and half of the enemy troops. That way you do damage to them and heal yourself at the same time. There's going to be a bomber, which is going to be the goblin. And on the very far left is going to be a fish with a trident. Those are going to be your 2 DPS characters. Big old Cyclops has a gigantic hammer. He's able to rush towards targets and swing towards them. And you'll notice that these little blue mythical looking creatures, those guys are going to be what we're going to have to focus on whenever we get to the boss fight area. But you don't want to accidentally send your guy in too far deep without having enough coverage, or else he's going to die immediately. So we're going to have to do a little bit of damage to the frontline troops before we send them in too far. So, for example, in this first phase, you want to toss out some bombs, try to get all the turtles and everything injured, and then once his ability is ready, you're able to send him in once things are already sort of staggered and taking a whole bunch of damage. We're going to use our archer to try to clean up a little bit, and then the big dude just comes in here and wipes everybody out for us. We'll have a couple little stragglers. You don't have to worry about using your abilities too crazy, because that way we can save all of our ultimates for the next boss fight. Moving into this phase, you'll notice every single time we advance, you'll get a little bit of health and a little bit of ultimate ability back. Now see how we're going to be using our DPS characters, and then we'll send in the Cyclops to target the big ice monster in the very back. That way we're able to slap all the enemies in front of us and get all the way to him. He's got enough health that he should be able to tank it, and the most important thing, he's actually going to be getting the aggro away from our DPS characters, which is going to allow our gnome and the fish with a trident enough time to gather their ultimates to do more damage. So every single time you pull up this ultimate attack screen, it actually sort of pauses the game for you, so it gives you a couple seconds to recuperate and figure out what you want to do next. You want to just keep using your DPS as soon as possible. You'll notice that the Cyclops' health is getting pretty low. The fish should be able to keep him up all the time, but as long as you place it half on him and half on the enemy, you are going to be able to get his health back just like that. And with one guy left, you can basically just throw whatever you have at him until he's finally dead. And honestly, it doesn't take too long to finish any of these phases. That's going to be stage 2 complete. Moving on into stage 3, we're still going to be using their heroes, so there's going to be a archer on the far left. She's going to be your single DPS characters like in the previous round. You have a petite devil, which is basically going to be the girl to the right of her. She's able to attack everybody on the field all at once and do massive damage. The golden dwarf is able to swing his axe around in a circle, so you want to make sure he's really close to enemies. He can't attack too far, and whenever he does his ultimate, all he does is spin around in a circle. And on the far right, there's going to be a dude with a witch hat. He's basically a trickster. His job is going to be to stagger the enemies. So whenever your knights gets far enough, you'll be able to do the damage, but make sure you get the petite devil, do plenty of damage. Archer in the back, she's going to target some of the stone monsters. We're actually going to be using her to focus on the boss, while our trickster actually confuses everybody else around him. That way we're able to utilize everything. We get the golden knight. He's going to spin around, do all the damage to the rock monsters. We got the rat to heal us, and we're 100% good to go. The devil's attack's actually super good. You'll notice she's able to wipe out the majority of the stuff, and she has a really far range, so she's definitely going to be somebody important. Now, one thing to keep in mind while we're doing this, if any of our heroes die, you have to start over again. Which, if you accidentally mess up, it's okay. You might take a couple tries, but it's honestly not too bad once you figure it out. So we use the devil to attack the majority of things rushing towards us. We're going to use our knight to try to chop up these rocks in the very front. And we're going to use our archer here to focus on the boss himself. He's going to be hiding in his fort just chucking rocks at us. That's okay though. We can take out his stone monsters and then we'll be able to advance up. If we're able to get our DPS characters to attack the boss and the cannons, we're going to. That way we can have a little bit less things attacking us all at once. You'll notice the one cannon over there in the back sort of staggering around. The devil will be able to finish it whenever her ability is back up, or the archer will actually finish it off for us whenever she shoots that way. So as long as an enemy is inside line of sight of any of your characters, they may break off from attacking the boss and actually attack one of those, which is exactly what happened there. And that way we were able just to focus on the boss, and it really worked out for us. So he's just going to be spinning around lost since the trickster completely messed up his mind, and he eventually falls just like the rest. That's it for phase 3. Phase 4, and if you guys are curious, all of the Dark Disaster challenges, if you have any hero die while doing it, it's going to make you redo that level. So your goal is going to be to try to keep everything alive. Now, just like last time where we had the petite devil do a whole bunch of crazy damage, the girl to the left of the pixie, she's going to be able to do the exact same thing. So we have a healer on the far right, crazy DPS, we have the knight from the previous round, and we have a guy with wings. He's going to actually be able to damage everybody on the field just like the other girl. And the one to the left of her, she sort of focuses on a little bit more of a single target, but she does do a really strong damage. So we have plenty of DPS this time. However, we don't have as much stagger damage as we did the previous round, so that's going to be another thing to keep in mind. But honestly, out of the 4 of these, phase 2 is probably the hardest one since we get a lot better heroes on these other rounds. So you notice her ability sort of swings around, hits everybody. We're able to use Hawkeye to do tons of damage, get the dwarf in there to swing around and try to hit as much things as possible. And as long as you just keep up the damage, you should be 100% good to go in this phase. We do have Prima Donna whenever we need health. She's able to top everybody off. And we're going to try to focus on the crazy elemental guys with our individual target on the far left. That way we don't get overrun too quickly. So once we clear this, we'll be on to the boss fight phase, just a couple more in the very back. Now you'll notice whenever we kill the guys rushing towards us, our characters slowly move forward, and that's how we actually get to the guys in the very back. So it's very important to try to take some of those out, that way you're at a good enough spot to attack everybody. So this first phase, we can't actually get too far in there, but they'll slowly come towards us, and now we're able to attack everybody all at once. So you want to wait for the dwarf to get to a decent spot before he's able to start swinging his axe around, and you'll notice the girl in the middle, she's actually going to be granting a little bit of immunity. However, the dwarf swinging around and attacking everybody around there is messing her up, causing her to get a little bit stagger damage, and she's no longer granting immunity to her allies. And then if we focus on the guys to the right and left of her in the very back, that's going to stop her from being able to use those abilities on us. Since she doesn't do too much damage herself, majority of it is going to be boosting up her allies. That's going to work out for us. So now we just spin around, take out him and her at the exact same time. And now there's only going to be 3 more. So you want to use the rest of your hero's abilities to try to attack the boss and the guys at the exact same time. You're going to notice that she sort of gets a little bit crazy and starts attacking her own troop. From the girl on the far left, she sort of messes with enemies' minds, and that's exactly what we're going to use to take them out. She does have crazy healing powers, though. If you notice, she had like a quarter health, and then she went all the way back to 3/4. However, since we have all of our heroes, we got plenty of DPS, and she's going to die just like the rest. Now, the rest of the Dark Disaster challenges are also going to be found on the channel. Each one are going to have their own individual video. That way, if this tutorial helped, make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.